A warm welcome to all the internet radio broadcasters out there. Thank you for checking out this video, the brand new 2023 NextKast Pro Quick Start video. This video will walk you through the steps of how to install NextKast and how to get started with it. Obviously, the first thing you're going to do is go to our website, nextkast.com, click on the download link, click the link here, enter your information, and we will send you the link to install the demo version on your PC. This is a regular, normal Windows install, so it will run just like any other installer. One quick note, we do recommend that you only use Windows Defender built-in antivirus. There are occasions where third-party antivirus software can interfere with the operation of NextKast. Once you've downloaded and installed it, we can move to the next step. Once you've installed NextKast and started it up for the first time, you will be greeted by this screen. I'll give you a quick tour. There are 4 screen modes that will show you different parts of the operation of the software. So the playlist rotation screen is the front screen, and this will show you your rotations and playlist. Live Assist Playout Only will be a minimal screen that will show you the list of the tracks playing and give you your sample buttons or search on the right. Tracklist Add Music screen allows you to edit tag data for the tracks that you've imported into NextKast. And finally, the Playlist Builder voice tracking allows you to in-studio voice track in the Pro version and also pre-generate playlists. So that's the quick overview of the screen layout and the different screens that you have available in NextKast. One other thing to note here is I am using NextKast here on a touch screen. So because of the larger buttons, a lot of the functionality is touchscreen compatible. We wanted to make sure that, especially here in the Live Assist mode, you'll be able to use your touchscreen for convenience. So let's get started. An important factor is where you're going to store your data. So when you import music into NextKast, the data are kept on either the local drive or one of the drives that you have set up. So to set that up, the first thing you want to do is go to Settings, and you'll notice there's a System Folder Location button there. And so you can decide which hard drive you want to keep your music and your system data on. So this is only necessary if you have a small C drive and you need to have a secondary drive keep all your data. This is also helpful when you're using a Dropbox or shared location where you want multiple people to share in the configuration and setup of the system. So this is not for all users. You can just leave it default. It will store all your music and data on the NextKast folder in your C drive. But again, you can choose another drive here, and that's going to be your first step. For this setup, we're going to go ahead and keep it the default, which is the C NextKast directory. So we're going to store all our data and music in that directory. So we can get started now. The first thing we can do is we can delete all these sample categories. So these were set up to show everyone the quick ability to get the software running to kind of evaluate the sound quality and such. But we're going to go ahead and delete all the categories. We can also delete the rotations. We won't do that now. We're going to go ahead and start creating our categories. So the way you want to create your categories is I'll quickly show you a folder that I created here. So this folder is my music folder. So I've organized my music into different types. So essentially, when you're importing your categories, you want to break up your music into different categories. An example of a top 40 format station would have a power category with fewer songs that are more popular, a recurrent category that has tracks that are older but people still love, and then a gold, which are kind of like the old songs. And of course, commercials and imaging. Imaging would be audio that plays as a station ID or in between tracks. And then we have our slow category where you can put all your slow songs. So this is a quick example of how I organize my music to get them imported. You don't have to do that, but I've done that for this video to make it quicker. So we're going to go ahead and create our first category. We're going to hit the plus folder sign here. And the first one we'll do is power. So that is our power category. We're going to make sure it's music type and create category. And so then now we've created our first category. We're going to create the second one here. And it's also music. Gold is music as well. I'll show you, let's do imaging, which is basically, again, station IDs. And by checking this mode here and letting the system know that it's an imaging type, it will do different things to the audio, the way it fades out, the way it transitions. So it has some automatic built-in functionality by choosing the type. So we're going to create imaging. Let's see, which are the other ones we did? Recurrent is another one. I'm going to pause the video here, finish creating all my categories, and then I'll come back and we'll show you how to import music. Okay, we're back. We finished creating our categories, and now I'm going to show you how to import the tracks. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my first category, commercials here, and then I'm going to hit the plus sign here on the bottom, and I will get a dialog here to browse to where my music is. I'm going to go to my music folder, and then I do have a commercials folder. I can hold my shift down and select all my commercials, and now they've been imported. I'm going to go ahead and repeat those steps for every category. And again, I've pre-organized my music. You may have to do this a little different if your music isn't organized like this. But you do want to organize them in categories to get the best results for the music scheduler. So you'll notice the import happens fairly quickly. We do a lot of real-time analyzation of the tracks, and for noise level and all those things happen kind of automatically in the background, so you don't really have to worry about taking forever to import the music. So I'm just quickly running through here. You'll see that I've separated my music in folders, but this is the idea. You're basically grabbing your songs and getting them imported into the system. We'll go ahead and finish importing all the tracks into our system, and then we can move to the next step. We got one more category here. And we're going to go here, slow. All right, we are almost done. So look at that. We've imported a pretty big music library, a few hundred songs here, and it happened really quickly. And now we have our music loaded into NextKast in separate categories. As a side note, I also want to let you know that we import a wide variety of files. So most of the files that I showed you on my import were MP3s, and they're pre-tagged, and NextKast automatically reads those tags. But we can also read wave tags. All the other formats are listed here. So we basically almost have the ability to import any music type. So just wanted to make that quick comment so that if you're not using MP3s, just be aware that we can almost import any other file type. Okay, let's now talk about tagging your tracks. Now, the tracks that I imported were MP3s, and they had a lot of metadata already in the files or in the tag. Those were read automatically. So a lot of times if your tracks, wherever you're getting your music from, already have tags, you're going to save yourself a lot of time. But sometimes you will need to update the title and artist, especially for internet radio broadcasting. You need to make sure, if you're with Live 365, that all your titles and artists are properly entered, because that is important. So you can see here I have my artist name. Now, an interesting thing that NextKast does automatically is you'll notice that it separated the two artists into your related artist field. And what that does is it helps with artist separation. So a lot of these get extracted from the name. So if there's multiple artists in a track, it will automatically separate them here for you. You can also add additional related artists if you'd like. But again, this is a very helpful feature so that it can extract all the artists in that track. And again, making artist separation more effective and just really easy. So a couple of things in the quick start that I'm going to mention to mark the track. There are two things that are probably important. That is the intro and tone marker and the next start marker. Now, generally, you don't have to mark the next start because NextKast will automatically detect the silence at the end of the song and detect volume level to determine when there is. But if you're more meticulous and you want to mark your tracks, this is how you would do it. So you basically just highlight the track. You can preview the track. It will generate the preview. And then whenever the person starts singing or the song is, then that's when you click this little red intro until. You can clear that position by right-clicking on it. So we're going to go ahead and click that again. And the same with the next start. I can seek to the very end, and then I can adjust the next start position or reset it. And that's basically it. Those are the two things that you might want to do in the beginning when you're marking your tracks. There's also other information here that you can enter into NextKast, the key, the BPM, the group or female, male, gender, medium, slow. You can mark all those things. I would recommend that in the beginning you don't mark those because those are more for advanced music scheduling. But as you get more familiar with NextKast, you'll probably use that feature. More info, and then there's a time restriction where you can restrict when the track will be played. So that is the basics of track tagging in NextKast here in our quick start video. In addition to tagging your tracks in the main tracklist add music user interface, you can also double click on a track, and this will render a larger waveform and a slightly different way to edit your track. So I can use my little up down arrow here to edit my cue points. You have kind of a bigger waveform. There's also the edit button that allows you to edit it with a external music editor and then bring it back. You can also set the cold or the end type here, cold or fade or no fade. So all that can be done by double clicking on the track. It's just a secondary method to edit your tags in NextKast. Once we've imported all our music or our imaging and all our audio elements into NextKast and created our categories, we are now ready to create what we call a rotation, also known as a clock. To do that, we're going to go to the playlist rotation screen, and I'm going to go ahead and right-click on the demo rotation and delete it because we want to start from scratch. Then over here on the right-hand side, I'm going to click on New Rotation. So you'll see a list of all the categories here on the right and an empty list. I'm going to go ahead and click on the clock button, and that will show me a clock display of what we're about to create. So normally we will have a top of the hour imaging, and what we're going to do is just drag that in there. And then we can start with a power, and you get the idea. You can double click on the category to fill it in. And so basically you can set this up to flow the way you would like your hour to be. Also, you can put the commercial category. So I'm going to go ahead and double click that. We're going to commercial. Then we can do an imaging, gold, power, recurrent. You get the idea. So you see we've now, the approximate rotation time is 28 minutes. We need to get that up to at least an hour and 5 minutes. So I'm going to continue to fill these in, and once we're done with that, I'll show you what else we can do with the clock. Okay, we've almost finished entering all the categories for this particular clock, and I'm actually going to add one more here, and let's do an imaging and then another power. You'll notice that once you get the rotation or clock to be approximately an hour, the text here will turn green to let you know that you have enough elements in this particular clock to fill the hour. And then we'll call this first rotation. Okay, and then now we can save it. Once you've saved it, you can see that it is located here on the bottom. And as a quick start video, I'm just going to quickly show you what this allows you to do. So I can click on this now. I can disable schedule and click on it. And basically it now has picked the tracks from those categories in this hour. I can press play, and now my software has started automating the process of playing back the music the way I would like. One thing to note here is we did set our artist separation to 1 hour. So We can also set our title separation, and audience pleaser is something you can learn about later. There are other videos to talk about that. So it is important that you set your artist separation to about an hour. The other thing to note is we have music, commercials, and imaging. So I have auto trim checked on all of them. And what that does is NextKast automatically in real time trims the silence at the beginning and the end. And if you don't have any start markers, it will automatically tightly allow you to transition. So you can see here my music is set to 2.5 seconds crossfading. My commercials, generally you want your commercials to be set at 0. And then for imaging, at your preference, 1.5 seconds is acceptable. So that is how you quickly get running with NextKast, and that is how you create your first rotation. Up next, I'm going to talk about generating playlists and generating more than one rotation and scheduling them. Once I've created my first rotation, I can actually use that as a template to continue to make different various rotations or clocks, and I'll show you why. So I can right-click on this rotation and select Edit. And keep in mind, I ejected the players out, and it's probably a good idea to turn it to manual while you're doing this, so it's not continuously running. But anyway, I can go in here into this rotation, and I can maybe take out the slow songs. I can move things around. I can delete stuff, and maybe add another power here. So you can do various things in this clock and edit it and then call this first rotation 1. And so now we have 2 variations of 2 different clocks. So what we can do with this now is we can schedule it. And I'm going to quickly show you how you do that. So what you do is you go and hit the schedule button, and you'll be presented with this. And again, if you need to make this larger, you can expand this, and depending on proportion, you can fill that in. So an interesting approach would be to make my first hour first rotation, second hour first rotation 1, and then just alternating those, right? And so what that does is it creates a variation of sound for every other hour. In addition, it shuffles up the clocks. If you need to delete a rotation, then you would right-click on the square to delete it. So now we've assigned it, and I'm not going to assign this whole block because we're trying to keep this video brief. One other thing to mention is if you do need a rotation to start at the top of the hour, you can double-click on it and select Force Change. You will notice that that changes the color of that particular square, and that means right at 5 a.m. on Wednesday, this will start. One other thing to note about start times is we have a top of the hour rule here, and we also have a global force schedule changes. So the top of the hour rule will load the next playlist or rotation 30 seconds before the top of the hour, and then wait for the song to finish. If you have force selected, it will, in combination with that rule, it will load 30 seconds before, and right at top of the hour, it will fade out the current song and start the next hour. So that is a brief explanation of our clock system and how to schedule them. Of course, if you do want them to be enabled and running, you make sure you check Enable Schedule. We'll turn it to Auto, and it will go. And this will basically just go forever. Coming up next, I'm going to show you how to create and generate playlists if you're doing in-studio voice tracking, or if you prefer generating your playlist ahead of time. So we've now created both our rotations that we want to alternate. We've also scheduled all the rotations. And some users would like to pre-generate their hours. So we have 2 modes. You can run in rotation mode, which will perpetually just keep running through these clocks and picking songs in real time. But you can also pre-generate. So if you're in a situation where maybe you're voice tracking for tomorrow, we can't have the songs be picking automatically tomorrow, so we pre-generate those hours. And the way we do that is we go to the Playlist Builder voice tracking screen, and we can hit Generate. Now, we can also automate this process, and I'll show you that in a second, but we can pick the date and how many days ahead we want to generate. For this illustration, we're just going to do today, and we're going to hit Generate Playlist. So what is happening now is NextKast is automatically generating the hours pre-generating the hours of what songs are going to play so that we can voice track them. And so we'll just give it a chance to finish here. It checks the rules. You'll notice that as soon as we generated 4 p.m., NextKast came up and automatically started the 4 p.m. And I'll show you that in a second here. So now we can go to our Live Assist Playout Only screen, and we can see now that we're running in our current hour. On the right-hand side, you see the sample buttons that you can assign samples. You can also do the search, where you can search for tracks in certain categories and they will show up. You can also do a played search that will show you what has played in the last 2 hours or in a searchable date range. So let's get back to voice tracking. So you've now generated your first day of hours, and let's say we're going to go ahead and generate or a voice track for the next hour. So essentially, voice tracking, we show that in other videos, but basically what we just do is click on a position where we want to voice track. We play the previous song, and this can happen while you're streaming. It doesn't interfere with the current streaming. We can go ahead and voice track between our 2 tracks, mark the next start, stop the voice track, and now the voice track is inserted. So now you've voice tracked for the next hour, and when that transition comes up, that voice track will play out through our voice track system. So that is a very quick start video, just showing you how to generate the playlist and voice track those pre-generated playlists in NextKast Pro for internet radio. Once we have NextKast running, generating playlists, or running in rotation mode, there are a couple of other things I'd like to quickly mention. So you'll notice this radio CMP button right here. If I right click on it, I get this little audio control window. And what that allows me to do, it allows me to set auto gain, which this is where you want to set your target volume. So that means if you want your main output lower or higher, you would adjust it there. Your compression, your sound compression, so you can set your ratio and threshold and things like that. You can also set your equalizer here and set, raise or lower frequencies that make your format sound better. And there's also the expander, which is basically just a simple left to right delay algorithm that we built into NextKast. And you can enable that. Sometimes you may need to turn the gain up when you enable that, but that will give you a very wide stereo sound, automatically, all digitally built into NextKast. One other thing you can do is you can disable the radio CMP and right click. And in the user manual and some other videos, we show you can use third-party audio processing like Stereo Tools or forgot the other one, but you can add that as well. But built into NextKast, you just hit that radio CMP, you have auto gain, compression, and EQ automatic. So we've given you the quick steps to import music into NextKast, create your categories, create your clocks and rotations, and build your playlist. Obviously, you want to get this on the internet, quote unquote, airwaves. And so we do have other videos here on our website that will help you connect to stream providers like Live 365 and others. But essentially, you will go here into the broadcast settings, and this is our built-in encoder. You would enter the information from your stream provider. You would enable encoder and make sure you auto reconnect. You make sure that that is checked so that if there's a blip in the internet signal, it will automatically reconnect and you're off and broadcasting with NextKast. Thanks for staying with us, and thanks for checking out this video. If you have any questions, send us an email. Our website is nextkast.com. Thank you.